Hello friends! If you're new, welcome to my channel. If you're coming back, welcome back. I really do appreciate you. Today I'm going to be talking about Satan in the Gospel of John. There isn't much else I need to say at the moment, so let's get on with the video. I'm not exactly sure when Satan became this supernatural bad guy, but it was definitely not in the 1st century CE. For this episode, let's assume that it would have been historically likely that Jewish leaders would have conspired with the Romans. The author of John, like the authors of the other Gospels, assigns the role of Satan to specific human opposition, first to Judas Iscariot and later the Jews. John then depicts the battle lines as drawn between the quote-unquote sons of light, or those with Jesus, and the quote-unquote sons of darkness, the Jewish opposition. John and Luke explicitly state that Satan initiated Judas Iscariot's betrayal. Since John insists that Jesus is fully aware of and fully controls future events, he has Jesus himself giving the morsel to Judas that precedes Satan entering into him. Question. Wouldn't it then be Jesus' fault and not Judas' fault that Judas betrayed him? John's Jesus denounces his own crucifixion as God's judgment, not against him, but against this world and the ruler of this world. In both John and Luke, it is the Jewish leaders, not the Romans, who want Jesus dead. John insists that Jesus' crucifixion is due to Jesus' intimate enemies, the Jews, which takes us back to the original use of the word Satan. According to John 11:47-48, the priests and Pharisees gathered the Sanhedrin to plan what to do about Jesus. For some scholars, this is a much more plausible scenario than the trials in Matthew and Mark. John depicts the Jewish leaders as being concerned that the disturbances Jesus aroused would bring reprisals from Rome, which they wanted to avoid, even at the expense of an unjust execution. John clearly points out that the Romans only executed Jesus because the Jews wanted them to, going so far as to say that Pilate absolved him of any wrongdoing 3 times. Only in John do we read that Pilate allowed his soldiers to beat Jesus to arouse the crowd's sympathy. The author clearly explains that Pilate tried everything to release Jesus, and that while Pilate never sentenced Jesus, let alone condemned him to execution, handed him over to the Jews to be crucified. John's author may have questionable motives in depicting the Jews as the primary force behind the crucifixion, while downplaying Pilate's part, that he doesn't fully exonerate Pilate. Instead, he condemns the Roman for a lesser sin than that of the Jews. Pertaining to the intimate enemy, the Satan or Jews, they become increasingly antagonistic. At the beginning of Mark, Jesus challenges the forces of evil, not the Jews. As Mark unfolds, he comes into fierce conflict with the scribes, Pharisees, and Herodians, who convince Roman forces to execute Jesus. As we've already seen, Matthew, written around 20 years after Mark, escalates this antagonism between Jesus and the majority of the Jews, to the point of comparing Herod to the Pharaoh in the Old Testament who supposedly ordered the deaths of newborn Hebrew boys. John dismisses Satan as an independent supernatural force, opting instead to portray him as human, first in the person of Judas Iscariot, then the Jewish authorities. Well, friends, that's it for today. If you like this kind of content, hit the like button, press the subscribe button, and if you would like to know when I come out with new content, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. My Twitter, Discord, email, and PayPal links are in the description, along with the source I used for this episode. If you wish to support this channel, you may do so on my PayPal link. Question everything and never be afraid. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, goodbye.